In the chaos leading up to the Brazilian Revolution of 1930, the town of Oro Verde is alleged to have vanished with no explanation. Details are scant due to the political climate at the time, but all 600 residents disappeared from the town in 1923. Investigators from a nearby town found only a single gun left in a school, but the words, "There is no salvation," scrawled on the blackboard. Artur da Silva Bernardes had just been elected as president of Brazil and was ruling in a state of siege. It's theorized that the town may have been evacuated to avoid a guerrilla conflict, but there were no signs of an attack, and no record of displaced people from the town arriving elsewhere. An alternative theory, however, suggests the truck message was in Latin and warned of an evil religious force. Extra ecclesiam nulla salus. Outside the church, there is no salvation. Research into the town's existence reportedly uncovered contemporary Western media references in a Russian-language magazine, but those have since been lost. The town does not exist today, but the interior jungles in the area it was thought to have been located in are largely inaccessible. Roanoke. Roanoke was the second attempt by Sir Walter Raleigh to introduce a permanent British colony in the New World. Raleigh was prohibited from leaving Queen Elizabeth I's side, so he sent Richard Hakluyt, Thomas Harriot, and John White in his place. 3 ships took off from Britain, led by the Lion, captained by John White. In 1587, 115 settlers, in addition to John White as governor, arrived at a British garrison on Roanoke Island, only to find a single skeleton left when they arrived. The fort where the first Roanoke settlement had resided was otherwise empty and dismantled. The houses were overgrown by vegetation, and there was no sign of any of the first colonists. The shaken new colonists, among whom were White's daughter Eleanor and her husband, feared Indian attacks and wanted to return to their ships, but were forced to stay by the fleet's commander. The colonists came mostly from a middle-class background who hoped to become landowners and climb up the social ladder. Fearing for their lives, the Roanoke colony sent their governor back to England to beg for help and supplies. By the time White left the colony, his daughter had given birth to a daughter who she named Virginia in honor of being the first Christian child to be born in the area. Relations with the natives were peaceful thanks to Native American Croatoan chief Manteo. A relief fleet was delayed by the Anglo-Spanish War. At first, John White was not allowed to go back to the colony. White was only able to leave when 2 ships deemed unsuitable for battle were allowed to make the trip to Roanoke. French pirates looted the supplies meant for the colonists, and he had to stay in England yet again. King Philip II of Spain designed a plan to attack the British colony, never actually intending to carry it out, but rather in an attempt to force the British into misdirecting military resources. 3 years after he left Roanoke, John White was able to return on an expedition launched by John Watts. They spotted smoke on the island, but every time they investigated, they found the expected sites empty. The governor landed the crew near the colony on August 18th, baby Virginia's 3rd birthday. He found fresh tracks in the sand, but no person that had made them. When White re-entered the location of the colony, there was no trace of the colonists. The entire colony had been abandoned with no sign of struggle, and the only clue left was the word Croatoan carved into a post. Lake Anjikuni. There are disputed accounts that in 1930, the inhabitants of an Inuit village on Lake Anjikuni in the Kivalik region of Canada mysteriously disappeared. Fur trapper Joe LaBelle reported finding the village hastily abandoned, with huts still full of food, tools, and weapons. In the distance that night, LaBelle spotted a fire, but only found a smoldering pot and no signs of a mass exodus on foot. Joe examined the tribe's homes to see if there were any clues about why or how they had vanished, and found none. All he found were unfinished meals and items suggesting incomplete tasks. There was no sign of struggle, but most of the objects that an escaping or migrating group would need had been left behind. He left for the telegraph office to request assistance. Mounties were dispatched to investigate and allegedly uncovered tales of strange lights and a large cylindrical object that transformed in shape in the sky near their disappearance. Adding to the mystery, the ghost village's ceremonial graveyard was found open and emptied, every headstone piled up neatly. New City Village. New City Village was built in West Milford, New Jersey in the 1980s, reportedly to house workers of the Newark, New Jersey Waterworks. The town was constructed and populated swiftly and suddenly, but it was abandoned in 1992 in the same manner it was built, with little explanation and with all of its homes boarded up and all roads closed. Many of the homes left standing still contained televisions, furniture, and personal belongings, suggesting that abandoning them was not in the residents' plans. It's believed by some that the area may have been contaminated with radiation, as suggested by CDC no trespassing signs allegedly found in the area at one point after the disappearance, but the local government refuses to acknowledge the claim. Additional rumors persist about a community member in his late 30s or early 40s, notably bald, who allegedly called a town meeting for the New City Village members, at which they were attacked by his cult. Rumors of the story claim that the police found the butchered remains of the townspeople and that all the cult members escaped justice. Such a claim has never been corroborated, and no evidence supports it. Yet at least one self-assured claim of this sequence of events has been made. Another rumor reports that the town was never intended as a real residential space, and that it was never actually inhabited since it was built for a film or TV show. No such media has ever been produced featuring those particular houses. Finally, it's been suggested that automation of the waterworks system meant layoffs, and that finding no source of income, the inhabitants of the New City Village simply left. This contradicts reports of left-behind personal items and seems unlikely, as residential areas are rarely completely vacated when the economy supporting them collapses. The mystery surrounding the location and the urban legend derived from their uncertain fate of its people gave New City Village the name Demon's Alley, by which it's popularly known today. Whatever made the people of Demon's Alley disappear may never be known, as the houses have been taken down and the area has been cleared. Helltown. Helltown was a part of Boston Village in Ohio from 1806 until 1974, when its residents were forced out by eminent domain. It was the oldest village in the county. In 1960, the United States was seeing a movement of social pressure for conservation of forests and woodlands. That same year, President Gerald Ford signed legislation that allowed the National Park Service to purchase the land. The U.S. government claimed the land without warning and without negotiation, allegedly to build the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The government obtained the properties of the residents faster than they could afford to demolish them, effectively creating a ghost town packed with empty buildings and no trespassing signs. Suspicious residents abandoned their homes and defaced them with statements such as, "Now we know how the Indians felt." It's rumored that the government disappeared those who refused to leave in order to hide the effects of the toxic waste spill Creechy Dump. The 47 acres of chemical toxic waste reportedly spilled into the town, and soon enough, rumors developed about lizard people and other bizarre consequences of the alleged toxic spill, most prominently the existence of a, quote, peninsula python, a gigantic snake that prowls around the abandoned buildings. No such thing has ever been confirmed. Further mystery has clouded the fate of the residents at Helltown, considering that the town's Mother of Sorrows church features a worrying symbol that has disturbed Christians. On Main Street South, the church features an upside-down cross, a symbol commonly associated with Satan. Some believe that the church was actually a congregation place for Satanists, and that satanic activities were carried out inside, leading to the demise of the town. Others claim that the feature is simply an architectural choice inspired by European Gothic architecture. One urban legend tied to the supposedly satanic church developed in relation to an abandoned school bus. A family of original residents had acquired a school bus to live in while their house underwent renovations. The bus was one of many things left behind when the residents were forced out. Rumors spread that the school bus had allegedly been left by satanic serial killers who disposed of the riders. There's no evidence to support such a rumor, but neither is there any to support the story of the home repairs explanation. In 1985, a hiker found toxic waste drums in the area, believed to have been transported to the site from the Creechy Dump, and became violently ill after touching the mysterious liquid leaking from them. Audley's Town. Up until the middle of the 19th century, about 250 people lived in Audley's Town in Northern Ireland on the Castlewood estate. Maps show the first hamlets of the town appearing in 1834, but by 1859 the area had been replaced by 100 acres of woodland. It's believed that the town met its demise when Castlewood's Lady Banger evicted all of the tenants for a better view, tearing all homes down after the mass eviction. The townsfolk were reportedly all packed on a boat called the Rose, destined for Boston, yet there is no record of the ship or its arrival. The boat may have never even actually had plans to sail to the U.S. Historians investigating the mystery have postulated that if not lost at sea, the ship's cargo may have been thrown overboard.